Okay, so now can I introduce Councillor James Leslie, who is the Deputy Mayor of the district, and I've asked him to talk about his personal experience as a councillor. So I'll hand it over now to James.
Yeah, hi. I've written some notes here, but they're more about what we do as a councillor rather than sort of personal experience, but I guess I will cover that towards the end anyway. When you stand for council, on the day the election closes, which this year is the 8th of October, you'll get a phone call from the election officer to say whether you've been elected or not. And at that point, that's a pretty sort of scary position to be in, because you're really not quite sure what you've got yourself involved in. But there's a 2-week period, or it's probably a little more than 2 weeks, until late October when the first meeting is held. And at that meeting, the mayor will allocate his councillors to various portfolios. Now, because Mackenzie is quite a small council, we have committees of council, which means that every councillor sits on every committee. So we get involved in everything that's going on. So if I just tell you briefly what those council committees are, there's engineering and services, they look after the infrastructure. There's finance, which is self-explanatory. Planning and regulation, they look after the policies and bylaws. They also are responsible for the long-term plan and the annual plan and those sort of things, and compliance with the bylaws and things that we've already set. We do have a strategy committee, and that committee really sets the long-term vision, where this council or where this district should be heading. And in the last triennium, that's the last 3 years, we set up a Te Manahuna Ki Uta committee with funding from the government to set a 100-year vision for the Mackenzie. And that's been very exciting. I'll talk more about that later. We have an audit and risk committee, and we have a commercial and property committee as well, and they look after forestry, the airport and council leases and those sort of commercial activities that we do, and including the tourism and the like. We also have a committee for the CEO's performance management, and I'll talk a wee bit more about that later on. But in addition to those main committees, we also have 3 community boards, and there will be a councillor allocated to each community board. We have some other ancillary committees like Alps to Ocean, water zone committees, the local alcohol advisory policy, things like that, some other committees which meet perhaps quarterly. And so there are more committees than there are, there are more councillors than there are committees, so not everyone will be appointed to a chair of a committee, but you'll certainly get a role, if you're not on a chair, as a community board member, and probably one of those other ancillary committees as well. So it's fairly busy. It keeps you involved. The committees meet about on a 6-weekly cycle. Some of them vary. And the agenda is prepared on the Thursday. All our meetings are on Tuesdays. So you've got from Thursday to Tuesday to read through your agenda. The agenda is set by the CEO, and that allows you to prepare for that meeting. There can be an awful lot of reading involved. It will take you quite a bit of time to get the hang of it. And after a while, you get to learn which are the important bits and which you can skip over. But pre-reading is really important, and it's certainly pretty obvious if you haven't read your agenda and you turn up in the meeting. So what else? If there isn't a council meeting on a Tuesday, there will be a workshop. So we all get together at least once a week. Workshops still have a bit of reading to do as well. There's stuff that the staff are prepared that you need to be familiar with. So basically you can say at least one full day a week plus these other committee meetings plus your reading. It adds up, but that's just part of the job. So there are really only two main things that a council has to do. The first one is to set the vision and the strategy for the district into the future. And the second one is to appoint a CEO to manage the council to achieve that vision. That's pretty simplistic, but ultimately that's what a council has to do. After this election coming up, a couple of things are going to have to happen that are just cyclical. One of the first things the new council is going to have to do is do a performance appraisal on the current CEO, and that will happen in December. So her key performance objectives have been set. She knows what she has to achieve, and the CEO Performance Committee assesses the outcomes of what she's done to achieve those performance goals. She's also on a fixed term contract which expires at the end of April next year. So 6 months after a new council is elected, they're going to have to make a decision about what they're going to do about the CEO's appointment. There's not a lot of choice, really. You are either required to go to the market, or you can roll over that appointment for a short period of time, up to 2 years. The new committee is going to have to get to grips with that pretty much straight on. Now, hopefully we'll get a number of councillors re-elected who are familiar with the process already and can guide the new councillors through that. But that's going to be one of the challenges coming up. So it sounds like a lot of work. It sounds awfully hard and difficult, but there are rewards. And part of that is being part of a team that are all working together for the good of the district. And that collegial relationship is really important, and it's really good in this council. The staff are excellent and they do their best to help wherever they can, and the relationship with the staff is really good as well. But there's a little point I'd like to make here, that an elected member has a relationship with the ratepayers. So the ratepayers elect them to do the job, but the ratepayers think that because of that, they can go to that councillor and get their pothole fixed, or get their street light fixed, or that sort of thing. Now, the councillors, as I said before, and the mayor only have an employment relationship with the CEO, not with the staff. So if you think you can go into the staff and organise fixing potholes and things like that, it's not going to happen. The only way that you can deal with the ratepayers' concerns like that is to direct them to the appropriate staff member who can fix the problem for them. You can't do it yourself, and you don't have that sort of relationship. So you need to understand that early on and find out what's the best way to deal with ratepayers' concerns. I mentioned Te Mana Huna Kiuta early on, and the strategies that we've set for the future. Out of that strategy, there's going to be a number of projects that are going to be delivered or start being delivered in the next 3, 6, 9 years. So it's actually a really exciting time to get on council, because things are going to really start to kick in, and the new councillors will get the credit for all the strategy work that's going to roll out for the future. So, I mean, that's a positive, and it's a really good thing to happen. These projects are going to have a big impact on the communities in the district. It'll be an impact on employment, just how we live, what our towns look like, how we grow and develop, and how we retain our people, and how we maintain the lifestyle that we enjoy here, and look after the environment that creates that lifestyle for us. So standing for council is a good thing to do. I've certainly enjoyed my 9 years doing this. it gives you a good into the community. You get to feel some pride and achievement and when things happen, and you can say that you've had a hand in creating the district that it's going to evolve into. So I think it's a very worthwhile thing to do. It'll have its challenges, but I would encourage anybody to have a go at it. So if anyone's got any questions, I'm quite happy to answer those at some stage too, either on this webinar or privately if you wish.
Thanks very much, James. Does anyone have any questions? You can type them in the chat box if you want, or ask in person.
We're good at the moment, but that was very interesting. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't got any questions either, guys.
Thank you, and welcome. Welcome to.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. I was hoping to see the future mayor. Maybe it's Kerry.
Yep. We'll see.
Okay, so what I'll do then is I'll share my screen again, and I'll just go through those practical matters that are involved in standing for election, and also just let you know that I've stood for election twice myself and lost. So if you have any questions about losing an election, I'm happy to answer those as well. So here we go. If I can get it to, there we go. So first of all, vacancies. We have a vacancy at each election for the mayor, who everyone in the district gets to vote for. And then we also have a council, which is 7 councillors from 3 wards. But the important thing about councillors is they are responsible for the whole district, not just for the ward that they come from. So that's why working together as a team is really important. We've had some changes this time. Up till now, we've only had 2 wards, but council did a representation review last year and got some feedback from Tekapo that they would like to have their own councillor. And so what's happened is we've looked at the population size and we've split the district into 3 wards. And as you can see from the diagram there, the green area, the Pukaki ward, will have 3 councillors, each representing 807 voters. The Tekapo ward in the middle will have 1 councillor representing 687 residents, and the Opua ward on the right there will also have 3 councillors, each representing 770 residents. So that was pretty much the fairest way to split it. So that means now that we've got an extra council vacancy this time round that we didn't have last time. So as well as that, we also have 3 community boards in the district. We have Twizel Community Board, and what we've done with our review is align the community board boundaries with the ward boundaries. So the Twizel Community Board will represent people in the Pukaki ward, and we'll have 4 vacancies for that community board, and likewise for Tekapo and for Fairley. So if you're wondering what the difference is between a community board elected person and a councillor, that's a really good question, and something that I'm happy to explain in more detail if you'd like to ask me at the end, but I'll keep going this for now. Environment Canterbury also has 2 vacancies in the South Canterbury region, so that's another 2 vacancies that locals might be interested in. Okay, to stand for election, what do you need? First of all, you need to fill out a nomination form. I have the nomination forms ready to go. They will be on the council website from July the 14th, actually, not the 15th. So if you go to our website and click on elections, you'll find those forms there from the 14th. Each person who stands will deposit $200, and that's usually refundable depending on how many votes you get. So for most people, they will get that back afterwards, whether they win the election or not. You'll also be asked for a profile statement of up to 250 words with a photo of yourself, and there's some guidance on that also on our website. And evidence that you are a New Zealand citizen, so that might be a passport or birth certificate. Again, the details of these are there for you to read. And You'll also need to be on the parliamentary electoral roll to stand. Okay, so once you get together all your bits and pieces, you're going to need to be nominated by 2 electors whose names appear in the electoral roll in the ward or community board area you are standing for. So you can't nominate yourself, but for example, if James was standing again, which he's not, he might go and find someone and 2 people living in Twizel who are whose names are on the electoral roll for that area, and they might be able to nominate him. So that's something that when you bring your nominations in, we check the electoral roll to make sure that that's the case. And once you've got all that together, you can deliver your forms either in person to the Fairlie or the Twizel office, or you can email it all directly to me at deo@mackenzie.govt.nz, which is my electoral officer email address. Now, nominations close at midday on Friday, August the 12th, and my biggest advice to everyone is don't leave lodging your nomination until the last day, because at every election there are situations where people lodge their nomination at 5 minutes to 12 and then discover that something's been forgotten or left out, or one of their nominators isn't on the roll, or there's some problem with it, and there's not really any time for them to fix that if they leave it right till the last minute. So my advice would be to please don't leave it until 10 to 12 or 5 to 12 on the last day, and preferably not on the last day at all, but I understand that some people like to do that. Okay, so key dates. So nominations open on July the 15th. They close at 12 noon on August the 12th. And after that, voting papers will be sent out by mail. People will be able to vote and pop it in a return envelope and just post it normally, or there will also be voting boxes in each town that people can slip them into. The election ends at 12 noon on Saturday, October the 8th. And then after that, people standing for election will be either phoned by myself or the Chief Executive, and we'll let you know how things have gone before it's released to the public. So, frequently asked questions. Can a dog stand for mayor? I just have to slip this one in. And the answer to that is not in New Zealand, sorry. Difficult to prove that a dog is a New Zealand citizen. So, okay, here's the one that I get asked a lot. How much do elected members get paid? So this information is current at the moment. It will change after the election. It may go slightly up or slightly down depending on how the structure of the council changes. So at the moment, the mayor's salary is 71,000 and the base councillor salary is 19,000. But there's also you can get allowances on top of that for various things like travel. There's a childcare allowance for people needing childcare. And there's more information on other allowances and things. If you get elected, that will be given to you. So community board members really don't get a lot. So the chairs get around 4,000 to 5,000 each, and the members 2,000 to 2,500. These amounts are not decided at a local level, they're decided by the remuneration authority at a national level, so we can't do much about that. And as I've said, the amounts will change, and councillors who take on additional responsibilities are paid more, and reimbursements are available. So if you are elected, we've got a really good induction program planned, and it will go through things like this and also teach you the basics of what you need to know. Okay, so given that councillors and community board members aren't paid a lot, what are the non-financial benefits? And so what we've got here is you'd be working with great people, as James said earlier, learning new things, growing your self-confidence, a sense of achievement, especially when projects come to fruition. I know that working for council myself, it feels really good when you've been working on something for a while and then it appears like a playground or a reserve that's being upgraded or something. A sense of achievement. You'll be deciding the future of the district, and that's really important because especially the councillors, they do a lot of planning for the future, and every 3 years there's a long-term plan which looks at the next 30 years, and there's other planning exercises as well. So it's really good to know that you're working towards a better future for the district and for the people here. And also working with the team to make things better for the community. So there's lots of non-financial benefits to being elected as well. How much time is involved? Councillor Leslie has already referred to this. The Mayor carries out council business on most work days. It's pretty much a full-time job. Councillors meet all day Tuesday, lunch is provided, and they also attend events throughout the district. Community boards, much less work. They hold formal meetings 6 to 7 times a year. Each meeting lasts about 2 hours. But the members of community boards often meet informally at times that suit them, especially if they're looking at different projects around their town. They might go for walks around the town to look at things like parks and seats and toilets and things. And they also often talk to local ratepayers about things as well, and that can take time. Individual elected members often get involved with staff or members of the public on local projects, and that's something I'm seeing happening more and more now, where you'll get some enthusiastic people, for example, wanting to put a memorial wall at the Fairley Cemetery. We've got that project going at the moment, and they've got this great project, and they'll join with council and with members of the Fairley Community Board to actually push that ahead. So if you want to learn more, I'm inviting you to the next community board meetings. They're coming up next week. There's the details. So you're welcome to come to a community board meeting and just sit in and see what happens. And I'll be there, and so will usually the Mayor's there and the Chief Executive's usually there, and anyone at all if you want to ask questions. Do attend. We've also got a candidate handbook, which is on the website, and that's got all the little details about things like your photograph and your little statement that you have to write and things like that. So you'll find all that sort of information in the handbook, and again, that's on our website at the moment. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got, but I'd love to hear your questions if you have any.
I think we're pretty good for questions at the moment, but again, that was very interesting.
Actually, I have a quick one. For the Environment Canterbury vacancies that you mentioned, that you still have to be a New Zealand citizen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
That's correct. Yes, you do need to be a New Zealand citizen to stand for election. That's in the legislation.
Yeah, no, that's so good. Any other questions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, that wraps things up then. As I said, feel free to contact me or any of the council staff or elected members if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to help you. Thanks for attending.
Arlene, I just had one last question, Arlene. I know that it said in the details about this, you'd have this online. You're going to put this up online at some stage if someone wanted to have a look a little bit later on. Hopefully there's a few of those out there. So when will that be available?
Yes, it is being recorded, and what I'll do is put it onto our YouTube channel in the morning and then link from that to our website at the same time, so it should be available from tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, coolio. That's all I was after. Thanks very much.
Okay.
And good information, and thanks for you too, Jones. Pretty thoroughly explained. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Okay, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you.